Evan Mobley has had one of the best starts to an NBA career we have seen in recent memory. He had arguably the best defensive rookie season we have seen over the last 15 years, and in my opinion, he should have won Rookie of the Year. In year 2, he was even better. He finished top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year voting, including 8 first place votes, becoming the first second-year player to finish top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year voting and receive any first place votes since Joel Embiid. He joined Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Garnett, and Tim Duncan as the only players in NBA history to receive at least one first place vote for Defensive Player of the Year in their age 21 season. He has been a key player in the Cavs reaching the playoffs for the first time in the post-LeBron era. Mobley is very clearly a special talent, worth every investment in that third overall pick in 2021. He's going to be an absolute star in the NBA. But I do have some concerns about his game that make me hesitant to believe he can be the level of player most fans believe he can be. But quickly, before we go any further, if you're new and like basketball, I'd really appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and hit notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. I make videos about basketball all the time, and liking and subscribing are the two best ways you can help me out in the YouTube algorithm and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let's try and get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. Anyways, let's talk about Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley is clearly a very talented player who has been a good NBA player since his rookie season, and I do believe he has a very high ceiling, but I don't quite think he has the ceiling that some people do as the superstar level player or this future Tim Duncan or Kevin Garnett type player that I see some people talking about. And that's true for Kevin Garnett in the sense of both his Minnesota days and his first year in Boston. And the reason for that to me is because he's really not wired to be that kind of player. Don't get me wrong, I think he's going to be a great player, but there are just certain things you have to do in order to reach those kind of heights. Mobley has never been wired to be a big time scorer or be the lead guy on an offense. He's only averaged 20 points per game once at any level of the game, and that was his senior year of high school. And even then, as someone who watched a lot of his tape prior to the NBA, it kind of just felt like he was 7 feet tall and better at basketball than most of his competition, and it didn't really feel like he asserted himself on offense as much as you would have hoped that he could have if you want to see, again, this main offensive hub that can be like the leader of your offense. He's been a good offensive player in his career, but his wiring as a player has always been more a secondary or complementary player than a primary player. He's never really shown primary scoring aggression at all, like we've seen with Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Anthony Davis, or Joel Embiid. Which is why I'm hesitant to say he's a future top 3 big in the NBA like some believe he can be, especially with how great Jokic and Embiid have been and will continue to be, and guys like Victor and Chet having close to or even more upside as a big man. Now, I do think Evan Mobley can reach the production that Garnett had in that 2008 season. I could see him being a 19 point per game, 9 rebound per game, 3 assists per game, 1.5 steal, close to 2 block per game player as early as this upcoming season. However, I don't think that means he would just be 2008 Kevin Garnett. You have to understand that it was a different era in 2008 than it is in 2023. The 6th leading scorer in 2008 was Kevin Martin at 23.7 points per game. That wouldn't even be top 20 in scoring in 2023. So while I do believe Mobley could reach the production Kevin Garnett had as an offensive player in 2008, maybe even a little more than that, 18 to 19 points per game in 2008 isn't the same thing as it is now. Back then, 18 to 19 points per game was the equivalent of averaging 20 to 22 points per game in the current NBA. Kevin Garnett was still one of the 3 to 5 best players in the world in 2008. He finished third in MVP voting that season, 14 more first place votes than LeBron James, and his production being at 18.8 points per game instead of the 22 to 24 points per game he averaged in his prime in Minnesota was due to a new 7-minute per game decrease and playing with better offensive talent in Boston compared to his prime days in Minnesota. It wasn't due to a lack of scoring aggression. He still averaged nearly 19 points per game and averaged a little over 20 points per game in the playoffs in 2008, despite the minutes decrease and having to share the ball with more players. And he was still really productive, and I think if he was still in Minnesota that year, he would have put up the 22, 23 points per game, 10 plus rebounds per game, 4 to 5, maybe even more than that assists per game with elite defense. I think defensively, Mobley could get close to what Kevin Garnett was, and I don't say that lightly. But offensively, while I do think he can get to what KG did numbers-wise during that first year in Boston, I don't think it's the same, obviously. KG's numbers in 2008 were a case of a player being capable of putting up bigger numbers that proved he could scale it down a bit. And he did it to help lead a team to a title, but when you watched him play, it was very clear that he was better than 18.8 points per game that season. While with Mobley, I think it will be more of a case of the numbers reflecting what he is as an offensive player. Now, with all that being said, I do want to make it very clear, I still think Evan Mobley is going to be an incredible player in the NBA. He already is one. He became a positive impact player the moment he stepped onto an NBA court, and was an immediate elite defender in his rookie season. I can't put into words, and I don't think people fully understand how rare it is for a one-and-done big man to do that. He has rare movement skills for a big. He's on pace to be an all-time great defensive player. He's going to be an all-star to all-NBA level guy. He's going to be a defensive player of the year candidate every year of his career. In fact, I think he's the favorite to win defensive player of the year this upcoming season. What Mobley is defensively is what modern basketball is defined by. He's versatile, he's productive, he's smart, has a good motor, can play multiple defensive coverages, has unreal ground coverage. He plays well on switches, he has great shot blocking tools, he plays passing lanes. He does need to get stronger. That was evident in the playoffs, especially against Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson. But I am confident he will get stronger. He has a frame that suggests he can add functional strength, and he has added functional strength since entering the NBA. If he does get stronger, or should I say when he does get stronger, because it looks like he's already on track to adding that strength to his frame, it's only going to make him a better defensive player, which is terrifying because he's already one of the best defensive players in basketball. I truly believe in 10 to 15 years, we will be talking about Evan Mobley as one of the best defensive players in NBA history. While that might seem crazy and seem like a high and wild expectation, I do think it's a real possibility because he has a real chance to become the youngest player in NBA history to win Defensive Player of the Year this season. And if that's the start of your career, you have a chance to be one of the best defenders we have ever seen. Offensively, I am skeptical of him reaching the levels it would take to get to that top 10 player in the league caliber that I think some believe that he could reach in his NBA career. But that doesn't mean he's a bad offensive player by any stretch of the imagination. He's averaged at least 15 points per game on at least 50 field goal percentage on above 500 teams in his first 2 NBA seasons, And going from year 1 to year 2, his efficiency went up, his production went up, and that's always going to be an encouraging sign for a young player. It's one thing to be more productive as an offensive player, it's another to do it while also not only maintaining but improving your efficiency as a player. He does the big man stuff like run the floor, catch lobs, and roll to the basket. He has incredible body control and fluidity as an athlete in finishing situations. He has good shot touch as well, and he is capable of creating his own offense. He has a functional handle. I wouldn't say he has a great handle, but it is at a level where he can grab the rebound and push the ball up court when needed and can create his own offense in flashes. I do think he has potential to get to a level where he is a good self-creator, but I don't think it will ever get to a point where he's a great self-creator. As of right now, I would say he's solid at creating his own shot in terms of attacking closeouts and off the catch in roll-man situations. It's not like he only catches the ball and goes up. He can catch the ball, take a dribble or two, and create a little bit. And I think that he can expand on that to the point where maybe he can just get the basketball and try and score from time to time, although I don't think it will ever be a consistent part of his offensive game. He also has really good passing tools, high feel, good vision, makes good reads. He draws enough attention scoring gravity-wise to make his passing effective, and I do think that if he continues to improve as a passer, he could be one of the better passing bigs in the NBA in a secondary connecting role. Now, he's not a good shooter. 27.4% on 1.7 attempts per game on shots 16 feet and beyond. He does not have good shot prep, in my opinion. You'll notice on tape that it takes him a bit longer to get into his shot pocket on the catch. It is a bit quicker on pull-up attempts, but it still needs to improve. His shot prep needs to get quicker overall. I don't know if he will ever be a great shooter, but I think if he fixes his shot prep and maybe some of his lower body mechanics as well, he can be a solid shooter, one that's respectable enough to expand his offensive game. I'm not saying Mobley is just this pumpkin on offense that can't score, is spoon-fed, and doesn't have potential to grow into a good scorer. He's been decently productive in his young NBA career. He has shown flashes of big scoring games, but he isn't consistently aggressive as an offensive player, and he never has been, which is why I'm skeptical of him reaching the big time scoring levels that would be required of him if he wants to be a top 10 player in the league. And the reason for me being skeptical is we've seen guys have slower starts to their NBA career in terms of scoring, but then they become these great scorers. But those guys showed at prior levels that they were aggressive scorers, and that really isn't the case with Mobley. However, at the same time, I do believe he's going to be a good offensive player, a really good offensive player that can be relatively productive and versatile. I think because of his wiring as a player, Mobley projects to be an 18-20 point per game guy that peaks at maybe 21-22 points per game at the most. But considering everything else he brings to the table and his team situation, I think it will be more than enough. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Darius Garland was the best player on the Cavs last season, and he's the best player on the team moving forward. I think he's that important to their offense. He's that responsible for how that offense is run with his playmaking ability and his scoring ability. And I think Garland has MVP potential, and I don't say that lightly. I know I'm higher on Garland than most, but I truly think he could be that special. Plus, they also have Donovan Mitchell, an all-NBA level guy. And when you have a 25 plus point per game scorer that's proven he can do it on high-seeded playoff teams, when you have an elite playmaker, one of the 5 to 10 best playmakers in basketball, that also has 25 point per game ability, and in my opinion, still has room to grow to potentially be an MVP caliber player in a similar mold to a Steve Nash. You don't need to be a big time scorer to elevate the team, especially when you might be the best defensive player in basketball and have versatility on both ends of the floor. The Cavs don't need Mobley to be 2004 Kevin Garnett, early 2000s Tim Duncan, current Joel Embiid, current Nikola Jokic, or what Anthony Davis did in 2020 when the Lakers won the title as an offensive player to be a contender. They already have 2 established offensive creators to build the offense around. Mobley just has to be a third option. Put up 18 to 20 points per game. Play well off of Garland and Mitchell, which I think he did this past season and will continue to do. And be a creator when needed, which I do think is within reach as early as this upcoming season. He does need to get stronger and handle contact better. Even if I don't think he needs to be a big time scorer, he does need to be a bit more assertive on offense. But even if I don't think he'll be a big time scorer on offense that you build your offense around, I do think he can be good enough to be the third offensive option on a contender. And when you combine that with his defense, it could lead to him being the second best player on the Cavs long term, even if he isn't a top 2 scoring option. I am very aware of the idea of being wrong about this. Maybe he does take that scoring lead. Maybe he does become more aggressive as an offensive player. Maybe he does become a 25 plus point per game guy. He is one of those players who just is that talented, and you can't really count out outlier growth and development. But based off his basketball career at levels prior to the NBA, what he's shown in the NBA, and his wiring as a player, I think it's more realistic to believe he's a third option on offense, as well as why it's hard for me to believe he can be the offensive player that reaches some of the lofty expectations that he's gotten since he's entered the NBA. But I would love to be wrong about this. I would love for him to make this video look foolish, make me look like a complete idiot. Because if he becomes that superstar player, that means more great NBA players, and that's always a good thing. But even if he doesn't become that, and he doesn't prove this video wrong, he's still going to be an incredible player. If he's 19, 20 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 2 blocks per game, and he's doing that for his career, while also being one of the best defensive players, if not the best defensive player in basketball, that's still a top 20 player in the league. That's still an all-NBA level player. I think Mobley can get there. I'm very optimistic about him reaching top 20 all-NBA levels, defensive player of the year, maybe multi-time winner in that regard. I think that's within reach for him. Even if I don't think he's going to be a superstar or a top 2 or 3 big in the league, he's already a starter and a contender at just 22 years old. Or at least that caliber of player. I wouldn't say the Cavs were a contender this year, but Mobley definitely could start on a team that's contending right now. And I believe he will be one of the 3 best players on a roster that can contend for many years in his NBA career. I just don't think that the offense will ever get to the point it has to in order for him to reach superstar level, top 10 in the league level, top 2 big in the league level, or top 3 big in the league level, because of the talent in the NBA is just that great, because of how good the top 2 bigs are and the potential that other young bigs have, like Chet Holmgren, like Victor Wembanyama. I think Victor will probably be better than Mobley in his NBA career, and I think Chet Holmgren versus Evan Mobley is going to be an interesting debate throughout their NBA career. But that doesn't mean that because I don't think he'll reach those heights that he's bad. I still think he will be a top 5 big in the league. He might be a top 5 big in the league already. I think he can reach top 20 All-NBA levels. That's an incredible player, one that will make an impact on great teams potentially, and could make an impact on a great team right now. Mobley is a special talent. I think that he has all the potential in the world to be a great player. But I think people need to temper the expectations a little bit. But that's the end of this video. If you made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, haven't already, like, subscribe, hit notification bell, and be notified whenever I release a video. I'm making videos about basketball all the time, and liking and subscribing are the two best ways it can help me out in the YouTube algorithm and help me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let's try and get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. And let me know what you think about Evan Mobley in the comment section below. I think he's going to be a great player. I just think that a lot of people have expectations for him that don't feel realistic as of right now. And just let me know in the comment section. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? How good do you think he could be? How good do you think the Cavs could be? Can he win Defensive Player of the Year this upcoming season? I think he can. I'll leave all of that down below. But with that being said, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.